It's Kathy, and I am here to help you with a little painting class today. I'm going to first go over the materials you need to be ready for our project. The first thing you're going to get is either kind of a scrap piece of wood, that would be cool, any kind of scrap piece of wood from around your house, or a piece of cardboard, which I'm sure you've got plenty of. I'm sure your parents are getting plenty of stuff from mail order. And it can be kind of long and skinny, so we're going to do like a landscape today. So anything like that would be awesome. You do want it to be thicker than paper, so you want it to either be cardboard or wood. The next thing you're going to want is a little rag to wipe your paintbrushes on. I like to wear something like an apron or an old shirt to make sure I don't get paint on my clothes. Also, you need a container with water in it to rinse your paintbrush. You're going to need a pair of scissors and then just a kitchen sponge, any kind of kitchen sponge. Best if you haven't used it yet. The next thing you're going to want is a variety of paints. I pulled out today brown, red, purple, light green, blue, and yellow for our project. So you can use whatever colors you'd like. This is what I'm going to use for my painting today. The next thing you're going to get are two different kinds of paintbrushes if you can. One with a kind of broader top and one with a small top. If you only have one, that's totally fine, but this can help with detail. And then the other thing you're going to want is a pencil. Any kind of pencil you have. Finally, you want something to put your paint on like this. I used an old package for beer, which I'm sure your parents have. So you can use anything just to place this like a palette for your paint. Okay? So you might want to pause the video here and then go gather up these materials. Okay, we're going to sit down and do our project. So I'm going to get a nice comfy seat. I'm going to move some of my stuff close to me so I have it with me. I'm going to move this here. I've already cut up my sponge. You might want to get help from your parents to do that. I've also squirted out the different colors that I am using. And I have my pencil and my paintbrushes right here. Now I'm left-handed, so I'm going to put them right next to my left hand because that works best for me, but you can do it whatever you want. I'm going to use the piece of wood today because I like using wood. I don't know if you all have met Owen. He's part of my in-person class today. So actually what I'll do is I'll use the cardboard to put on top of the table so I don't get the table all painty, but that's all good. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and draw mountains, okay? And we're going to do that with our pencil. You can do it as dark as you want because you're going to paint over it, but you're going to find the middle of your wood or your cardboard, and you're just going to take a line and you're going to draw. You can kind of draw a little line like this. And all that's going to do is help you kind of find the horizon. Okay, that's where the sun rises and sets in the sky, right? And then what I'm going to do is, now that I kind of see where it's going to be, I'm going to make some cool mountain shapes like this. I'm going to go like this. And because it's just my pencil underneath my paint, I can make as many weird mistake lines as I want, which I already have. So I'm just going to push that up there. And I'm going to leave plenty of space up here for my sky because the sky is really going to be the cool part of what we do today. So I've got 4 mountains. Okay, you see how I just kind of ran the pencil up like that to make what mountains look like? What's cool about nature is that nothing is really symmetrical or the same, right? It's all kind of organic and different, so your mountains can be different heights. Mine are all kind of the same height, so I'm actually going to make that one a little taller. And I think when I'm going to paint this one, I'm going to make that one a little lower. Okay, so it's kind of cool. You might want an eraser too. I don't have one, but you could get one yourself. But that's the fun part about art sometimes, is you don't have to make it perfect. It can just be as whatever it turns out to be. Okay, so I've got my mountains. And now I'm going to get ready, and the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use my sponge for painting. So I've got this sponge here. I've got it so it's small and I can hold it in my hand really easily. And the first thing I'm going to do is get it a little bit wet, and I'm going to squeeze the water out of it. And then I'm going to come over to my paint and I'm going to get a little purple. Because what color is the sky at night really? It's kind of purple and blue. It's got all kinds of colors. We think of it as black a lot, but it's really, if you go out tonight and look at the sky, you're going to notice that it's really a bunch of colors. So I'm going to make whatever combination of purple and blue. See how I put my purple and blue kind of close together? That kind of helps too. But you can spread it out. So the first thing I'm going to do is get plenty of paint on my sponges. Thanks. And then I'm going to start putting paint on above the mountains that I drew in. Okay. So I'm going to just start putting it on, and see, when you're putting the paint on, you get a lot of room, a lot of space taken up there. And I'm going to start this left corner. I think you should too. And it's okay that it's not going on perfect right away, right? Because I'm just going to be sponging away. And what I'm going to suggest is you're going to do some sponge painting here, and then you're going to go and leave a space about, let's see, the length of your finger wide, okay? My finger might be a little longer or shorter than yours. I don't know. You might have long fingers. You might have short fingers. But I'm going to leave a space open. That's for something cool we're going to do in the future. Okay? So I'm going to leave a little blank space there. I'm going to take my sponge and I'm going to sponge paint. See how the blue and the purple look so cool together? I'm going to get a lot of paint on here, okay? And if your paint's not spreading out, or if it looks thin, two things you can do. So if it's not spreading out a lot, you just want to put a lot more paint on your sponge. Sometimes it can feel like, oh, I don't know if I should. And then the other thing you can do is get your sponge a little more wet again in your water, right here. Just a little, always squeeze it out. You don't want a bunch of drippy water, but you get your sponge a little wetter, and then you get more paint, and it helps spread it out across the surface, okay? So we're gonna get that all done here, okay? And you're gonna go right to the edge of the shape of your mountains. If it goes a little over, that's totally fine, because we're gonna handle it. Oh, I'm going in that space. I don't wanna do that. Good thing it's art, and making mistakes is all part of the process. Okay, so I'm gonna remember to leave my space open. Okay. And then I'm gonna do something creative. So I've got this sponge here, and I've been putting paint on, and it's all purple and blue so far. Oh, thank you. I'll move that over here to make it a little easier to see. Okay. I pretty much have my whole sky worked out. So what I'm gonna do next is I'm gonna do the special thing I'm gonna do in here, which again, luckily it's art, so it's okay that I put a little bit of paint in there already, and I didn't plan for that. It's all part of the artistic process, you guys. Okay, so now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go and get some of my green paint, okay? I'm gonna get some green paint, and I'm gonna keep my purple and blue paint sponge really close by, and I'm gonna put some green paint in here, okay? I'm gonna put a little background, and it's gonna look a little weird right now, but you're gonna see how this is gonna shift. It's gonna be so cool. And remember, I gotta put more in there. I remember I made my mountain shorter over here, huh? So I got my green paint down so I can kind of see where I'm going. And I'm gonna lightly touch with my purple and blue sponge right over the top of that. Okay? Really light. Because it's all gonna blend. When you look at the sky at night, even when stars look really bright, they kind of look blended in. So I got a little baseline. I've got my blue and purple paint combo there. And what I'm gonna do with this sponge here is I'm gonna get in the green paint, and I'm gonna kind of squish down like this. Okay? Because next I'm gonna try to do some stars. Okay, I'm gonna try to do some things. I'm gonna really kind of get my paint out there, and instead of, before you kind of saw me dragging the sponge, this time I'm just gonna poke at it. Okay? I'm just gonna poke at it. Okay? Sorry, blue and purple areas that I already kind of went on, because you know, stars don't just go on the Milky Way. We want to kind of put some stars out here into the sky like this, okay? And this is just our initial go at it. So we're just gonna make sure we know where our general stuff is, okay? So I'm just gonna go kind of do that. It looks kind of crazy right now, doesn't it? I wonder what's gonna happen. Okay, next what we're gonna do is we're gonna paint in our mountains. And just like everything else in art and in the world, you know, we think of mountains as something that are like just brown, right? And we are going to use brown as our base paint, but we're going to make our mountains more than one color because mountains are always a lot of different colors in the world. So, but we're going to use brown as our base paint just to kind of get a little shape in there. So the first thing I did is I grabbed my kind of bigger brush and I dipped it in my water and I softened it up. And then I put a little brown paint on my brush. And I'm going to start on the left side here. And I'm going to make a line with my brush to line out my mountains. And at this point, you know, you're just kind of creating that horizon, that edge. Okay, so I got to get a little more paint on my brush. It's also all plain brown right now. And I'm just going to create that edge. Yeah, and you can see I'm sort of dragging down like that. I'm sort of imagining what the mountain looks like below a little bit. And you can just kind of go along that edge and fill in that edge, right? It's good. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my brown paint and I'm going to do something crazy. I'm going to go and grab a little purple paint, brown paint and purple paint. Because I think at night, the land sort of reflects the sky a little bit. Also, when you add purple and brown together, it makes it a little bit more solid, gives it a little bit more of a solid color, and also less translucent, so you can't see through it as much, okay? So now we're gonna go ahead and use that. Oh, I want more purple paint because I want the purple to pop out more. And I'm gonna go right over what I painted before because I don't want to have like a line of brown on the top of my mountains. I want it to blend in, so I can just go right over the top. Yeah, and I'm gonna start pulling my mountains down like this. Yeah. And I'm gonna pull the mountains down like this. I'm getting brown paint, I'm getting purple paint, I'm getting crazy. Yeah, I'm gonna fill in with my broad brush. And I'm going right to the edge of where I was before. I'm going to get a lot. And oh, I need to add a little water to my brush to help my paint spread around a little bit better. This is where my cloth is going to come in. I'm going to kind of, because brushes aren't as easy as sponges to wring out. Sometimes you need to like get water on your brush and then put it on your rag and then mix your paint. So I'm mixing between the purple and the brown. Okay, so now I'm doing this. And you can see here, I did something that maybe I didn't explain before, but I left a little line right here, and we're going to see what happens later, but that's going to help us sort of show the difference between the mountains. And you're going to be able to do that in a lot of creative ways. So right now I'm just working on covering this wood with paint. And I've got this nice broad brush. I've got my paint right here. And I can add paint anytime. That's the other thing. I like to put just a little bit of paint out because I don't like to waste paint. I don't like to have a lot of leftovers when I'm done. I want you to notice what's cool is I'm just kind of grabbing brown and purple paint and painting. What's fun about that is it doesn't really matter because you're almost mixing it when it's on the board like this, right? Almost mixing it like that. So I've got that. Oh, can you start to see how you can see the sky and the night and all that good stuff? All right, so now we're getting our board covered. Wood can be a little hard because it's grainy. So if you're using wood, don't be sad if it's not happening quick. That's okay. In fact, what you can do even when we're done with this class is go back and change as much as you like. Okay, so now we've got our mountains there, and now we can kind of take a look at our painting. Okay, we know that we want our night sky to come all the way down, so I'm going to do a little touch up right here. Okay, maybe with some green paint, that could be fun. And then I'm also going to put a moon over here. We're going to do that first, and then we're going to take the light from the stars in the sky and have them go down and touch the tops of the mountains. That's what we're going to do next, okay? So I'm going to grab my purple and blue sponge, and I'm gonna do some filling because I see some light spots, okay? And I want my night sky to be cool, and I can even see how I'm not just dragging, I'm kind of pushing in to give it texture. That's kind of fun. And I got a little light spot over here that I'm gonna do. I can fix that mountain in a bit. Okay. And then I'm gonna grab my green sponge. Oh, I'm gonna do some light tapping here. Oh, I'm gonna move that so you can see. Okay. It's a light spot, so it helps me see the green a little bit easier. Okay, here we go. Yeah, we've got some cool, when you look in the sky at night, you can see the stars, and a lot of times they do look pretty white. But when you get out into the mountains, like where we live, you sometimes don't, the stars look like all different kinds of colors. And a lot of times I see them as this light green. When you're choosing your paints and you're doing this project, you may decide to do like a light yellow or even a lighter orange or something. That could be fun too. So just because it's what I'm doing doesn't mean you have to do all that same thing. It's just the colors I've chosen. Being an artist requires a lot of creativity. So, all right, so now we've got some night sky. We've touched up some of our little areas in the corners. Now I'm gonna do one thing that we talked about before, which is fill in this gap over here to kind of give us some depth. So what I'm gonna do is I got purple paint, and I'm gonna fill in this light area here, right between the mountains. I'm gonna fill in some purple paint right here, and I'm gonna then stretch it up. I'm gonna paint it up like that. And that's gonna show the difference between this back mountain and this front mountain. And I'm gonna fix the front in a second. And then I'm gonna come over here and I'm gonna do the same thing. And we didn't leave a light spot because it's like a different level, but I'm gonna put some paint in here to kind of stretch it up and make the mountain purple, more purple. And I'm gonna do the same thing here. Get a little bit more purple paint. You can do it along this line here, and then, a little purple here. And this is just like, if you want to. This helps show a little bit of depth. But if you want to just leave your mountains brown, and that's totally fine too. That's up to you. You're the artist. You get to decide. Okay. And what I'm going to do with the same exact brush, I don't even have to rinse it off, is I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to do one final brown line right along where I just did the purple, because it helps show the depth. Show the mountain. I'm just going to blend. I'm doing this, I'm kind of pushing right into the purple I pulled up with the brown. I'm just going to blend it right in, blend it in, because we're going to do something really special in a second. And even though it's a little hard to see now, you can start to see the mountains start to pop out, which is super fun. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to take our green sponge again, and we're just going to get a tiny bit, the light color sponge. We're going to just a tiny bit of paint. It's going to be totally dry. I'm going to make sure it's totally dry. I'm going to get a little bit of green paint here. And I'm going to, I just want to make sure it's just very tiny. And I'm going to be really careful when I do it because I want to make sure I don't get much. But I'm going to put a little bit of green right on top of the mountains. Like that. Okay, so I'm the lightest dabbing that's ever happened right here. Very light dabbing, right? And you can see where I'm doing it. I'm doing it right on the tops and on like this right-hand side up to the top of the mountain to the right. And that's kind of like a version of shading to some degree, okay? Just gonna dab, and I'm actually gonna use my finger. I've used my finger a lot in painting, and I'm gonna run my finger really lightly over the top so you can see it still. And if you want to do a lot more than that, that's okay with me. I mean, it's your painting, but I like to keep it kind of mellow because I think about how things look like in nature, and it's really neat how the land reflects what's happening in the sky, and that's what we're showing here. Showing how the land reflects what's in the sky, which is a beautiful nighttime scene of stars in the Milky Way. Remember that I need to show you what I'm doing too. I'm going to get a little bit more on my sponge, but I'm being really careful because I I know that the mountains, because they're just a reflection, they're not going to be as bright as the sky, right? That's why I'm using my finger to sort of spread it out so you can see it, but you don't have to. What do you think? That's looking pretty cool. All right, we're going to do one more thing. And we're going to bring out our smaller brush. And if you've been using that brush the whole time, no problem. If you only have a big brush, that's okay too. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get this really wet. And then I'm going to use my cloth to dry it. And what that does, it helps get it nice and soft. I'm actually going to do that again. Just going to get it. And what I do is I never have water that drips off my brush. It might be wet on the brush, but it's not dripping. Okay. And I'm gonna get a little bit of this same color paint. So if you decided I'm gonna use orange for my stars, then you get the orange. And I want to point out right now that you'll notice that I have 2 colors on here that I haven't used yet. I always put a couple colors that I think I might use that might be cool and fun to use. And I might do that after we're done with the class. I might actually show you how I might do that, but I always have a couple extra colors just to see. The final thing we're gonna do is put in the moon. And, you know, the moon, a lot of people will draw it as a crescent. That's fine. You can draw the moon how you want, but you should know that that's just how the light is revealed. I'm going to do a full moon because I think it's really pretty. So I'm going to do it way over here to balance. So also, I've got my Milky Way and my stars over here. So I'm going to put my moon kind of right over, not centered or up top in the corner. I'm going to do it right here over the mountains. And I'm going to make it kind of small, because I want the whole painting to stick out, and it doesn't have to be a big moon. So I just made a little circle of paint, and I'm going to use my finger to kind of blend it, because the moon is beautiful and bright, but it's not solid, you know. It feels, especially in a painting, it's going to feel a little different. And what I'm going to do to help blend it is I'm going to get a little bit of paint on my sponge here, my star sponge, I could call it probably. And I'm just going to kind of tap on that. And I'm going to use my finger again to kind of soften that, blend it a little bit. It's almost like maybe a little cloud or atmosphere is like impacting the moon, and the moon is a little bit more solid than that. So I'm gonna put a little color with my brush on there, and that's okay. See how it's kind of a little bit textury? That's kind of fun too, right? I think everybody would know what that is. It's just a different way of looking at it, and that's also the cool thing about art. So look at our painting. That turned out so great. What I would do now, and I'll just do a little bit of this, is I go back and I'm going to get my brown and my purple again, and I'm just going to kind of fill those edges in, like if I'm feeling like I want my painting to be like totally finished. And then the other thing I would do is I have another sponge piece that I've saved for my fun stuff. If I really felt kind of excited about doing something different and special, I get some red paint, which I always like to keep a little red paint. Red's such a cool color. Maybe a little bit of yellow. What color does yellow and red make together? Orange. And orange is one of my favorite colors to paint with. And I could add, if I wanted, even though the color scheme is really cool, I could add like a little bit of color down in here if I wanted to. That's up to you. So if you want to add to your painting and like bring out some reds or some yellows or some other colors, that's fun too. So I hope you've enjoyed your art lesson today. Don't forget to clean up your stuff and help your parents out in that way. And you can feel free to contact me with any questions you have about this project. Thanks very much.